Hi everyone, it's December 9th, and today we have a packed lineup. Big moves in enterprise AI, Google's taking another swing at wearables, Rivian's teaming up with Gemini, Meta's fighting to get back in the AI race, and a whole lot of geopolitical and regulatory drama. Let's jump in. First off, Slack, the communication platform, is getting a major upgrade. Claude Code is now going to be available directly inside your Slack workspace. So developers can ask it to, refactor code, review pull requests, answer questions around architectures. Basically, it helps you with all the things that you're discussing with your peers in your channels. And now Claude is going to be available to participate in those conversations. Slack already has an AI powered Slack bot, but this is different. This is going to be a bot that's specifically going to help you with like software related actions, right? I think I love Claude Code's strategy here. They're going all into enterprise dev workflows and kind of letting OpenAI and Google fight it out in the consumer AI space. And I think coding is definitely a sticky use case because once a developer does become comfortable with the tool, switching is difficult. If you've ever tried convincing a developer to try a different IDE, you would know, right? So I think Claude Code has been doing a good job. It's starting to become the default AI model that developers are trusting for serious programming work. Now, Google is trying to use anti-gravity, which is promising, but I think it needs much deeper hooks in the developer processes to compete in this space, right? And what's interesting is that while this integration is happening, Slack's CEO Denise Dresser is heading to OpenAI, which is a competitor for Anthropic, which is what a coincidence, right? So, and we'll continue to see moves like this where executives are moving to different companies in 2026 as well. All right, next up, Google plans to launch its next attempt at smart glasses in 2026. Now, if you remember, Google launched Google Glass back in 2014 and it got a massive backlash due to privacy concerns. But honestly, I think the world has softened up to like these kind of privacy issues because I think there's no real way to use these new AI driven technologies without giving up your data. So and Meta's already been already has their smart glasses that they've rolled into the market. So I know the users in the market is going to be a little bit more open to it, right? This new device it will integrate obviously deeply with the Gemini models and the whole Google ecosystem. So you will have an AI assistant that can give you answers like, oh, where did I leave my keys? Or who did I meet today? And what did we talk about? Summarize my meeting. You could look at a specific car and say, what model of a car is that, right? Things that right now you can do with your Pixel phone, where you use your camera app and look at it, right? So it's easy to say all of those kind of use cases will be available in this new wearable. I think, oh yeah, so I think hardware is going to be the strongest moat for these AI companies because switching costs become so high, right? And I think the wearable race is still wide open. Meta has their glasses, but is running behind on the kind of the AI horsepower and the AI applications, and that's probably why their traction has been limited in those glasses. Now, OpenAI is definitely working on a device that won't be glasses, probably not even a wearable, but we'll see. And I think that is going to be probably the first true AI gadget that will be for the mass public and people, I think, will really start to use, right? Now, I think with these Google AI glasses, Google will be in a really good spot. It already has the Pixel phones and like home devices, so it really has a whole ecosystem it can use to deliver a fully AI powered like experience to a person, right? Okay. Google has used obviously Google's been using this success they've had with Gemini right in the last kind of month to lock in more deals with companies. One of these companies is Rivian. So if you don't know, Rivian is an electric car company, kind of a competitor to Tesla, and they are integrating Google's Gemini models in their new in-car AI assistant that will be they'll be rolling it out in their new models, and that will give the drivers like natural voice control with things like real-time navigation and reasoning. You can ask it, oh, what's the closest food that's open, and then can ask follow-up questions, things like that. And who knows, they can even make the cabin interactive where you can ask it to open roll down windows, things like that, right? So so again, yeah, this deal shows that Google is trying to put Gemini everywhere, from glasses to even, I think Gemini is going to be powering Siri soon in iPhone. So yeah, so Google's going on in. All right, moving on. Meta actually started 2025 in a pretty good spot with their open weight like llama models, but as the year went on, they lost momentum to OpenAI, Google, DeepSeek, who pushed out stronger models, right? So Meta is now working on a new model named codenamed Avocado. Obviously, they want to get back in this AI race, which they have kind of fallen behind on. It's expected to be a high-end model that is going to, that will try to compete with ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek. And what's interesting is that this time that model might not be open like the Llama models were, right? Which obviously does make sense because the US ecosystem has become so dominated by like proprietary tech. What I don't like is that there's no major US player that will really be committed to the open weights models anymore. Long term, this would funnel all the talent, money, research into like a few tech giants, and that's not good for innovation or anything that requires a national level rollout, right? So, and meanwhile, we've seen what China has been doing, and they've been shipping out the strongest open models. DeepSeek, we've seen the Quen models from Alibaba, and they're building whole ecosystems around that. And so yeah, if Meta can actually build a strong frontier model, I do think they have a good shot at being a good shot at least consumer AI, because they still do have the best distribution channels, which would be Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, so like pretty much social media, right? And nobody has that kind of a reach, pretty much. So, and I think what's important is like Meta should also learn from XAI, which has actually been surprisingly good at building models that are tailored for like social media and like kind of real-time conversations. And I really think that this is a space that Meta can easily dominate if they get their models right. All right, now let's talk about all the movement in kind of government space around AI. Trump has announced that he plans to issue an executive order that would override individual state AI laws and replace them with a single federal framework. This is basically to stop every state from making its own separate AI rules. For example, California wants to do its own thing. Texas wants to do its own thing. And businesses have actually been complaining about this for a while, right? Now, centralizing rules under the federal government makes it easier for like companies like OpenAI, Google, and Meta to ship features that are nationwide and doesn't require them to conform to laws and regulations from 50 different states. Yeah, but the messy part is that people in all these states have actually been calling their local lawmakers asking for like stronger AI rules because everyone's kind of afraid of losing their jobs, right? And with the midterm elections coming up in 2026, those politicians are going to be under like real pressure to show that they're doing something about these AI regulations, right? So we'll see what happens in 2026 from all these politicians. Moving on, the Trump administration has also reportedly approved the exports of NVIDIA's H200 chips to select countries, while keeping some restrictions on China. Now, just a reminder, H200 chips are actually the predecessor to the latest B200 and the B300 chips that NVIDIA offers, right? The only reason I think the government wants to do this is because the government will get a 25% revenue cut from these H200 sales, which is probably a big motivation for Trump, right? But I do think if national dominance is the only concern, then these chips should not be exported at all, right? And what's interesting is that China isn't accepting this quietly. They're pushing back by imposing like strict vetting system where any buyer in China would have to justify that Chinese made chips aren't meeting their needs before they allow them to purchase US chips, right? And this is going to be interesting because if you look at the big picture, China has a massive industrial capacity. They have more power than the US. And once it catches up on chips, it is going to leap ahead and it is going to happen. So they're already producing some of the most like the strongest open weight models like DeepSeek. So and once those models become like good, better than let's say GPT, obviously you would have the world will start using those models. So I do absolutely think this is absolutely about national security for the US, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, right? Um, and while this drama plays out, Google has actually landed itself another major deal with the government. The US Department of Defense, which I think is now called the Department of War, unveiled a new AI system that uses Gemini for tasks like mission planning, logistics, intelligence, and like real-time battlefield analysis. This is going to be one of the largest AI deployments we've seen from any major company. And obviously, when Pentagon picks your model, it's not just about chatbots anymore. It's going to be about national security and decades-long contracts. So Google will be in a good spot. All right. Continuing on the regulatory side, the European Commission has launched an antitrust investigation into whether Google used online content for AI training without proper licensing. Now, this could lead to fines, force AI companies to give disclosures, or even set new rules on how these companies can collect data for future models, right? And Europe has always been pretty consistent with these kind of policies. Whenever they see a tech company becoming too big, they try to regulate it very aggressively, and it's going to happen with Google as well in this space. And if EU does decide that training data must be fully licensed, training costs will go up significantly, and probably it will set a precedent for other countries to follow suit as well. Similarly, India is following closely. India's government, a government panel in India actually recommended a system where AI firms must pay creators fixed royalties whenever their content is used for training. What's interesting is that these rates wouldn't be negotiated within the two companies. The government would actually set them. So this will be a completely new model of how companies train data, and training data might actually become like a taxable national resource. And obviously, if India implements this, there's a chance that other countries, especially in Asia, might start to follow in their footsteps, right? All right, finally, a news that I'm excited about. Linux Foundation announced a new group called the Agentic AI Foundation, which will be built around projects like the Model Context Protocol, Goose, and Agents.md. Their goal is actually pretty simple: to make sure that we create shared standards so that AI agents from different companies can interact with each other. And if you're not familiar, Linux Foundation is basically the home of the world's biggest open source infrastructure projects. This includes the likes of Linux, Kubernetes, Node.js. All right. And that wraps up today's episode. It's been a big day in AI, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.